Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There's not much I can say, but I can reiterate. Oftentimes it takes hearing things 3 times before you get it. Lansing is dominated and controlled by the Republicans. Lansing is dominated and controlled by the Republicans. Lansing is dominated and controlled by the Republicans. I am disheartened by the fact that far too often I have to come to this mic and remind you of what our objectives should be. That is to regain the State House and retain the White House. Now, that being said, you have far too many individuals who constantly go off the reservation, and instead of doing the jobs they were hired to do or elected to do, they want to point fingers of blame and criticize people like your state lawmakers for not doing this or not doing that. And what they have failed to tell you is they don't understand what we do and how we do it. So I'm going to end and transfer this mic over to my illustrious colleague by reminding you of something that I told you at the State Democratic Party. Let's please stop dealing with personality and deal with reality. Stop dealing with personality and deal with reality. It is good to listen to what people have to say, but you better pay careful attention to what people do.
That's for sure.
Thank you.
Everything Jimmy said. I can tell you this, my heart is full of love. Because the only way you can do this is by loving the people that you serve. And every day I go to Lansing, I have that little girl's face on my mind. I have the faces of everybody here that I come to and be held accountable for the decisions I make on my mind. Because every decision and every vote that we take is about you. It's never about us. It's not about a re-election campaign. If you do the job correctly, then people will reward you with that. So that's off the table, and that's not on my mind. But I will say this. We have a very difficult job because we don't control the damn gavel. I mean, that's the bottom line. We get up there, we give great speeches, we hope that we can change somebody's mind, but at the end of the day, it's up to you all to make sure that we send the right people to Lansing to get up there and do the job correctly. And let me tell you why. And I said this often enough. We just had 4 bills on this teacher tenure thing. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't read the bills. Didn't read them. I don't need to read bills to know that the devil's at the doorstep with a chip on his shoulder. So you don't open the door and invite him into dinner. You go and grab the shotgun. Well, I got a secret weapon. I have my chief aide is a 34-year retired teacher from DPS who was a building rep for DFT. Now I told him, look, read these bills and tell me what you think. He comes back and says, look, they're all an expletive. So Keith Johnson comes to me to look for my support. I said, Keith, you see who works for me. Now go sell the vacuum cleaner somewhere else. You know where I'm going to be. So he goes down the line, and I will tell you this. I don't criticize people for the way they vote. But what I do criticize people for is when you get in your car and you go from Detroit, you travel all 96, when you hit Fowlerville, your mind starts to do funny things because you forget who you work for. You get out that car, people start calling you Mr. Representative, Mrs. Representative. You have an overinflated sense of importance, and you think you're something that you're not. Remember who you serve, remember who you're accountable to, and the rest will fall in place. Stop thinking that you're up there, moving things around, because you're not. You're not. You don't control the gavel. So that's all I got to say. I love you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We got 3 questions, and then we're going to move forward. We got 1 resolution. If you got good and welfare, please start lining up if you got good and welfare. Okay, 1, 2. Well, you had your hand up first. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 in the back.
On the front.
benefits and take pay cuts. Has the governor asked the elected officials to do that?
Yes, the governor has, but just by way of clarity, last year, the Democratic-controlled House voted for a 10% cut in legislative pay, which we took. We also eliminated what some people call life-term health care, which it really wasn't, but we eliminated that. Our staffs also took a cut in pay, and so yes, the governor is asking us to look deeper and take deeper cuts in pay as well. So he is looking for a sacrifice on our part, but he did initiate it. The Democratic governor and the Democratic Speaker of the House and the Democratic leaders, we voted to do that.
Okay, second question right here.
Okay.
My name is Carol Banks, Board Member Carol Banks. How you doing? I just want to thank Harvey Santana and you, Jenny Womack, so you have been keeping the board very informed. But also I wanted to say you did mention that you championed the bill for the budget process in terms of Detroit dropping the numbers so that we can continue to collect those taxes. And I like your newsletters that you continuously send me, Harvey, so I want to thank you all for working on both sides of the aisle.
Thank you. Representative Santana, there are a series of bills that are coming forward. I just would ask that you understand that there are going to be some legislation that we're not going to be able to vote on that you think is good for Detroit. We're not going to be able to vote on it that you think is good for Detroit. There is a reason. This has been a Republican-controlled agenda. But when it comes to certain issues, the Republicans are not going to walk lockstep with the governor. But all of the issues we're going to be dealing with, at some level, are intertwined with the budgetary process, which we didn't play a role in. It is not our objective to have this governor look like he was able to do what no other governor was able to do, because he got our support. It's their agenda. Let them carry their agenda. So if we vote no on something you think is good, please don't hold us accountable for doing something bad. We're doing the right thing because we have to do what? Regain the State House and retain the White House. And one more question.
One of the things that the constituents that put our legislators up there are watching, and the whole understanding about recall is also going to be those persons that were elected to represent us. So sometimes, and what we have to do is share with our constituents. Sometimes the constituents want you to stand up even though it's not going to matter anything. At least they can say you stood up for us. So it is important for our legislators to understand that and when they get to file a bill, that they still were sent up, not by file a bill, but by us back here. So you got to be aware of that, and you got to let us know.
And that really echoes my point, that sometimes we have to stand up for what is right, although the media may present it as the wrong position. We have to stand up for what is right. I'd also like to say, in closing, Mr. Chair, as we face the upcoming election battle and recalls all across the state, our Democratic partners need our help in areas where Republicans won by a very slim margin. I'm just going to remind everybody, as self-serving as it sounds, that we need to not spend a whole lot of energy down here in Detroit running a whole lot of campaigns. We need to be out on the trail helping other people get elected and helping our president get reelected.
Okay.
And to your point, man, let me just say this. Y'all need to pick up the phone and call. Seriously, pick up the phone, and if you got an idea, you got an issue, you got a strong opinion about a subject, pick up the phone and call. Send off an email. Write a letter. Sometimes I'm in my office reading bills, doing all the stuff that I got to do. I don't get one call from one constituent. Not one call from anybody in the 14th. I talk to Rick on a regular basis, but that's about it. So it's one thing to say, you know, you got to stand up and do what's right, but it's another thing to say that and not pick up a phone and tell people, look, this is how I feel. I go to the 14th. I have an opinion, and I'm going to keep you accountable. Okay, that's one. I'll give you my cell phone number, even better.
Whoa.
313-623-8255. 8639.
Could you
Say it
repeat
again.
that? I got it.
313-623-8639.